So your Miami Dolphins named their new general manager today. It is Jon-Eric Sullivan, the former vice president of player personnel for the Green Bay Packers. I will give you what I think is the number one duty for Jon-Eric Sullivan in his new role, and it's probably not what you think. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk, this special edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. I am Chris Perkins, your Miami Dolphins columnist for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel, and your host. That is Dave Hyde, your columnist for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. Dave, wow, it has been a whirlwind for the Dolphins since the season ended. Huh? Well, I mean, my goodness, are you happy with the way things have gone right now? Do you trust that the Dolphins are moving in the right direction right now?
Well, let's start here. They haven't done much over the last 2 decades to say, I trust, I have confidence in what they've done. That said, all the feedback from their hire here suggests there's a seal of approval that comes with him. Okay, so it's a wait and see. No one jumps up and down when they hire a GM who's basically been behind the drapes of another franchise. Coming out of a well-run franchise, yeah. He was part of the executive team that ran it and made a lot of good decisions. So, and the interesting part, how quickly the Dolphins moved on this. They interviewed Monday. Now, in to put it in perspective, they had been working on this for weeks. I mean, the whole Troy Aikman thing. He had been hired by the Dolphins sometime close to when Chris Greer was fired. So he'd been with the team for weeks, meaning that things had been moving forward. Steve Ross knew he wanted to redo the whole, not just the GM job, but remember Chris Greer's top 2 lieutenants were fired with him. But I was told that he wants to redo the whole scouting department. I mean, he wants to have the whole organizational scab ripped off and rebuilt.
Yeah, I like that approach. So we will see what results from this day by day, week by week, month by month. The Dolphins are in a corporate rebuild, you could say. We'll see what happens to the product on the field. We want to welcome all of our viewers on YouTube. We want to remind you to leave a thought, comment, question on our live chat, the best place in South Florida to get intelligent Dolphins talk. We want to remind you that if you missed any part of this show, you can catch the podcast on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And we want to tell you that we would like to invite you to sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Fins Flash, which you can do by scanning the QR code that is shown on your screen. So obviously, we're going to talk about the GM today, Jon-Eric Sullivan. We're also going to talk about the new head coach process. We don't know who is on the Dolphins short list to be hired, but we will kick around some names and we'll talk about that. As we always say on here, there's an ocean of possibilities. Let's dive in. All right, Dave Hyde. So let's talk about Jon-Eric Sullivan and the new GM. What I think is going to be his number one job here is rebuilding the culture of the Dolphins. And what I mean by that is I don't think that what they established is acceptable either from a mentality or a physicality standpoint. And I think both of those have to be rebuilt. I'm writing a column today, and I'm saying that Steve Ross, I hope that he asked the GM candidates and the head coach candidates, what did you think of our 2023 season? And I hope that they all said it was a huge disappointment and a borderline failure, because I think that's the new mentality that this organization needs to have. They can't say it was a great season, you had the number one offense and blah, blah, blah. No. You damn near failed. You were 11-6, went out in the first round of the playoffs. You didn't compete with the top teams in the league. That can't be accepted, Hyde. Do you think this organization needs a new mentality, or do you think it just needs to tweak the previous mentality?
Well, they're going to get a new mentality with new people. I mean, they're the whole, from coach to GM to quarterback to the whole personnel side. So I'm not worried about that. To me, the number one thing that I think Steve Ross has to get, the most important person in any football organization, is a personnel evaluator. Now, Sullivan, I assume, is going to be that, or he's going to bring in someone to be his sidekick, who that's his strength. We're going to have to listen to him to see how he's going to build the organization. But to me, that's it. You look at where the Dolphins failed. It is, to your point, it is how they built. Sort of a finesse, speed team at the expense of physicality a lot of times. But you also look at the road they went down. The drafts in 20 and 21, 5 first rounds, 4 second rounders. There's going to be one person left from those tank years where they collected all that booty. There's going to be one guy left, probably in Jalen Waddle, assuming Austin Jackson. That's 50-50 probably with his contract and his health issues, and assuming Tua is gone. So to me, it's talent evaluation. That's always the root of the Dolphins' problem. And if Sullivan solves that, he'll go a long way towards solving the issues.
Yeah, and as you say, Jon-Eric Sullivan comes from Green Bay. It's an organization that's known for doing things the right way, whether it's finding a quarterback or just, staying relevant over the big picture. Ron Wolf was the longtime GM who really set the stage there. And Brian Gutekunst now, I don't know, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of his name. He's there now, and he has continued kind of that same legacy. And so we'll see if Jon-Eric Sullivan has kind of that same juice that they had. We know that he has come up through the scouting department, through the player personnel department. And Hyde, do you think that he told Steve Ross that you need a complete rebuild here? We don't know anything about how Sullivan thinks as far as a run mentality or a defense mentality. We'll figure that out later. We don't know when he's going to address the media for the first time yet. But what are you thinking that you said talent evaluation or player personnel evaluation? Do you think he's going to go quarterback first? Do you think he's going to build the trenches for what should he do? I should ask you that. What should he do?
Well, 60% of his job is getting the quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, and look at Green Bay. They've had 3 quarterbacks in 3 decades.
Yep.
Between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and now Jordan Love. But Ron Wolf, who he started at the tail end of the whole Wolf regime, the mindset in Green Bay of Wolf's, one of his tenets was draft a quarterback every year. And so they were, so we'll have to hear Sullivan's philosophies, but again, he's coming out of a great organization that he was raised in. He was selling insurance and doing sales when he decided to go back into football, which he played in college, and become an intern with the Packers and in like 2003. And he's raised the Packer way and how they thought, how they built, and that's a good way to be raised.
It is. Before we go any further, let's say what's up to some of our folks out there. Spooky 21, Bigote 1775, Fitzgrass, Bill Smith. Let's see, CLD 170, Dead Streak, C Dola. Who else is out here? Pretty Boy is out here. Omar Davia, Louis M. Let's see, Demand 9780. Welcome to all of you all. Here's one that we've covered before, but Bigote 1775 says new guy gonna be first time as GM. Dolphins being Dolphins. We will say this, that GM is not recycled like the coaches. There's not a good old boy network that, Scott Pioli did New England and Kansas City. Mike Tannenbaum did the Jets and the Dolphins, but you're usually a one and done as a GM. There's not a whole lot of recycling. I don't know the reason for that, but it's not a bad thing that the Dolphins are hiring a first-time GM. I don't know how many repeat GMs are going to be hired in this cycle, or how many of them are even up for jobs. But it's, for whatever reason, it's not a job that gets recycled. JD, the great one here, Jake Harris. Jake Harris says home run hire. Do you have any thoughts on the hire, Dave Hyde? Because I don't. I give it a thumbs up from a distance, because he comes from a good organization. But I honestly, as you say, I have no idea. These guys are usually behind the curtains. We don't know. But I'll give it an initial thumbs up because he's from Green Bay.
Yeah, and you can see what Green Bay's done, and
Yeah.
assuming he's on the front lines of the decision making, right? You know, it's
Yep.
he didn't have final say. Obviously, he was an assistant, but look how Green Bay's built teams. They've done it, you know, very well with their backup. Now, here's to, you know, bring this almost to full circle, Perk. What we've talked about before. What's the decision out of Green Bay that the player coming out of Green Bay, the league's going to be interested in? And I don't know how much. And again, and I'm not saying the Dolphins should go all in on Malik Willis, who's a free agent quarterback out of Green Bay. But Sullivan will have advanced knowledge of, do you want him? Do you not want him? What's he worth? The risk, et cetera. And I throw out a previous Dolphin hire as an example of it. Sometimes it doesn't go as you expect. When the Dolphins hired Joe Philbin, Matt Flynn was a Green Bay backup. He'd just thrown for, I think, 6 touchdown passes in his finale, and he was the hot name. And Philbin told the Dolphins, don't want him. He's seen him. He saw him practice. You know, he saw him practice up against Aaron Rodgers and saw what greatness looks like and what it didn't look like. And Matt Flynn went to Seattle, where Seattle drafted Russell Wilson at the same time and had Charlie Whitehurst. And there, where I'm getting to is Seattle threw 3 players against the wall and got a good one in Russell Wilson. And that'd be the mindset. But, you know, Sullivan will have an inside track on guys out of Green Bay like Malik Willis.
Vasily Thurvis, welcome. Chris the bartender is in the house. It's your favorite male bartender from Michigan. That's right. We remember Chris. Billy Batson is in the house. What's up, Billy? Let's see here. Tom Steckel. Boxing Bill. Boxing Bill says, who gave the final stamp of approval for this hire, Aikman or who? We think that it was Steve Ross. I was always told that Steve Ross gave the final approval. Troy Aikman supposedly really liked this hire. Hyde, it had to be Steve Ross giving that, right? Isn't that the way this thing should be structured?
Yeah, I mean, it's Steve Ross's final decision. Look, I was told his son-in-law, Danny Willis, was really the one organizing the search. That doesn't mean he had the final say, because again, it's everything runs through Steve Ross. But there were a couple fresh eyes on it, and again, it was a gang of 6 inside the Dolphins who were interviewing. You know, and they did a real quick process, which told you when they got their list of finalists that they announced on Monday. They'd been working on that list for a while. Who are these guys? They had backgrounds. So they did the Zoom interview Monday, in person Wednesday. And I assume they had a good idea going into the interviews, what they liked, and use them to confirm or not confirm things they heard.
Omar Davia says, please do not sign Willis. Tank next year. Bill Smith says we need Willis. He scored 3 TDs last year. Let's see. Ender Fireplace YT is in the house. Mark Heavy, you made it. You did make it. Rashawn Brokenbow, what's going on? So, Hyde, just to get this straight, because it did seem like a quick process, the wheels have been turning in this thing since November, right? As you said,
Yeah.
that the Troy Aikman hire. So the appearance, the things became public recently. But do you think the Dolphins rushed through this process? Because I think that they did good due diligence here. That's what
Yeah,
it sounds like to me.
I don't think so. And um, on some level, if they know where they're going, why not rush through it? Because you don't want to end up losing the guy you really want when someone else comes out and interviews him. So the other you got to get going into this off season too. It's going to be moving real quick. So once you knew where you
Yeah.
were going, don't sit there and slow think it. I have no problem with the speed of the process. And again, the few people I've talked to so far give a seal of approval over the decision here.
Yeah, Jason Clement, what's going on? Scotty does know what's up. I see you out there. Drewski, what's going on? Hi, to kind of put a bow on this. How long is it going to take you to get some trust from Jon-Eric Sullivan, or for him to earn your trust, I should say? And I'm really, I don't know. I don't know with me. You want to see the head coach hire. You want to see what his philosophy is. You almost have to go through a whole season, right? You want to see the draft. You want to see the free agent strategy. You want to see if this is a total rebuild. You want to see what he does at quarterback. Can he earn your trust in weeks, months? Does it take an entire year? Again, I guess it'll probably take close to a year for me. But how long do you think for you? I don't know.
You'll know when you know. I mean, you'll know
Yeah.
when you'll look at his free agent decisions. You'll look, how's he going to handle the contracts?
Yep.
How's he going to, what differences will he have from the previous regime to set his philosophy, and what similarities? Where's he going to go in the draft? I mean, the other thing
Yeah.
that we got to look at here is how Steve Ross sell this structure. Did he sell it
Yes.
as
Right.
the GM is going to be on equal footing as the coach, and Brandon Shore, the salary capologist, for lack of a better vice presidential title, as other teams that have done, and as Ross had it done when Greer left. So we don't know. We're going to have to do some homework and listen to him, how everybody talks about the structure coming up, whether this is Sullivan's big show to run or he's got an important lane in a show that he's going to share with others.
Yeah. We there's a lot of questions to be answered, but this is just day one, so let's not be in too big a hurry to get these answers. Dola, we don't know when we're going to talk to Jon-Eric Sullivan. As far as we know, there's no press conference scheduled yet. So as soon as we hear, we will of course pass it on to you. Banglewood, is that what it is? Banglewood, what's going on? Mark Coleman, what's going on? The Apollo TD, what's up? I see you out there. Feronis. Hi, let's move on to our second segment here. And by the way, this is going to be kind of an abbreviated show here. But we're going to talk head coach here. If not Harbaugh, who? We've heard from our friend Jeff Darlington at ESPN that the GM situation is not associated with head coach, that the Mike McDaniel firing was not associated with acquiring Harbaugh. So it appears that Steve Ross is doing it the right way. He's getting a GM, and then the GM, I guess, will be empowered to some degree to naming the head coach. We think John Harbaugh, because 12 playoff appearances in 18 years in Baltimore makes him the number one candidate. We know Mike McCarthy is out there. He's won a Super Bowl also with Green Bay, and he had to deal with the lunatic Jerry Jones in Dallas. I shouldn't call him a lunatic, should I? He had to deal with Jerry. He kind of is a lunatic, though.
It fits.
It does. He has to deal with Jerry Jones, so he's got a certain mentality. What are you thinking as far as head coach? How long should it take, and what should be some of the qualities there?
Well, let's clear up a couple things. The Dolphins haven't talked to anybody as of late last night. Hadn't talked to Harbaugh, and in fact, think about this: if you're Harbaugh, why wouldn't you wait through the first playoff weekend? What if Buffalo fires Sean McDermott? What if Green Bay makes a coaching change? Those would be two. So, he just got fired a few days ago. I'm sure he wants to go fast, but he doesn't want to rush things, and that'd be one way to play it. And also, the Dolphins could have made things a lot clearer if Steve Ross had fired Mike McDaniel on Monday. Black Monday with the other teams.
Right.
Instead, he wasn't ready to do so. He met with Mike on Tuesday. He just met with him Thursday morning. From the exit interview, he decided, okay, I guess at some point Wednesday I needs to fire him. So he fired him Thursday. And meanwhile, that led a lot of, and including to me, a lot of things to get out there that I was confused by. One is Chad Alexander of the Rams all of a sudden emerged after the Dolphins had put out a list. All of a sudden he had merged hours later, just before it was announced that Harbaugh was being fired, that the Dolphins were interviewed Chad Alexander. Evidently that was just coincidence. And then, so you wait 3 more days and you fire McDaniel, which led – I'm connecting dots out here initially before I get to reporting, and I'm thinking, like a lot of people, okay, that they must have got word from Harbaugh. No, they haven't talked to Harbaugh. So they made this decision independent of whatever Harbaugh is doing, as has been reported. I was told. So, maybe they talked to Harbaugh, maybe they not. I thought the easy thing would be Ross just slide the keys across the table to Harbaugh and say, you build the organization. He's not going to do that, obviously. The coach, again, we're going to have to look in Sullivan's back. We're Green Bay coaches. That's his roots. That's his basis of knowledge. What does he think of Kevin Stefanski, who's out there? I don't know, Perk, what do you throw it out there? Where are your thoughts on the coach?
Look, I would be all for Harbaugh because I think he brings a certain mentality. Now, look, we know that most Hall of Fame coaches have Hall of Fame talent. And I'm going to chat where somebody is like, well, what has Harbaugh done when he didn't have the great talent? What has any coach done? What did Belichick do in Cleveland? I mean, you need talent as a coach. And so this next head coach for the Dolphins, you're not expecting instant success. But I like what Harbaugh brings. I like what Mike McCarthy brings. I don't know if I'm leaning toward a Dolphins next head coach who has experience, who has previous head coaching experience. They've gone with a lot of first-time coaches. I guess Dave Wanstead was the last one that had previous experience, right, from Chicago. But I think that the head coaching experience helps. I think Mike McDaniel will be a much better head coach in his next job. So that's kind of how I'm leaning right now, and I'm starting at the top of the food chain with Harbaugh and McCarthy. There's other guys. Arthur Smith has some head coaching experience. There's other guys that have head coaching experience, but those are the two that I'm going to start with right there. You've got Anthony Weaver is out there. He's interviewing for a couple other teams. If the Dolphins don't interview him, it's going to look awfully strange, isn't it? But I'm starting with Harbaugh and McCarthy, guys who know how to start a program, guys who have won a Super Bowl before.
And let's also say this isn't a great job for a coach right now.
Okay?
Right. I mean, you're in salary cap problems, so you're not going to be able to build the roster through money. Your talent base is low. Okay, not only you don't have a quarterback, um, you have one Pro Bowl player. Um, so there are better jobs out there. Let's put it that way. The Giants, Atlanta.
Right.
A selling point for Harbaugh would have been build your own organization. Okay, now that's removed.
Right.
So I'm not sure what, besides a pile of Steve Ross's money, which he's always happy to do, what they could offer Harbaugh to say, this is the job you want.
Well, I think just the opportunity to build, and if you're Harbaugh, you're going to be the strong voice in the organization, right? Jon-Eric Sullivan will not outrank you.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah,
who's Steve Ross empowering? We'll have to listen to the structure. I'm thinking it's going to be equal power, but we'll see.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be a big thing for Harbaugh, right? That he wants to run the show. He doesn't want to just be a head coach. He probably wants to have significant personnel input. And look, I thought that Mike McDaniel did, much to the detriment of the organization. That's right. So to me, I do hope this, Hyde. I do hope that Jon-Eric Sullivan has a philosophy or a theory, offensively and defensively. It can be molded to the head coach, but I hope he's got a theory, and I hope he drafts and signs free agents according to that theory, right? Get a system and recruit to the system, like the old school college does, like Ozzie Newsome did, like Howie Roseman does. Some of your better executives, John Lynch out in San Francisco, that this is the way that they do things. And so that's what I hope that the GM and the coach can agree to most basically.
I think his theory is, again, his roots. His only roots are with Green Bay. And look how Green Bay builds. They build physical teams. Now, obviously, they're in the cold, but they value quarterbacks. They draft quarterbacks when they don't need one. You look at Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers there caused friction. They're not afraid to do that, as the Dolphins have been afraid to bring competition into their quarterbacks. So I like that. You look how Green Bay builds teams through the trenches and adding through quarterbacks every draft, like I said. How can you not like what they do? So I assume he's coming in with, generally that's his philosophy.
When you talk about this isn't a great job, John Gordon says KC wasn't an exciting job when Andy went there. He's right. He's right. And Andy Reid, there was the frustration from him not doing anything with Philly, not winning the Super Bowl. So he was a retread coach who went to Kansas City, and he was kind of able to build it his way. Do you have faith in doing it that way? By the way, Bigote 1775 says Raheem Morris, Ron Rivera, Mike McCarthy. Do you have faith in that type of a guy? Could a retread come in and pull the Andy Reid in Miami?
Sure. I mean, again, you know what we're looking for is a match with Sullivan. Much as I'm sitting here talking about structure, really structure, it matters to say, who's going to be doing what. But what really matters is you get like-minded people of how to play football, how to build teams, and how to get along. That probably matters more than anybody else. We always sit here to say who has final say in things, but then when you talk to people who've been in there, final say really is overrated. It's getting the right people and to talk out the decision and come to the right decision. So, but yeah, I mean, like I've said, there's a dozen ways up the mountain. First-time coaches, first-time GMs, retreads. You've seen it all happen. It just comes down to getting the right people.
Happy Ellen, what's going on? How about these two, Hyde? Jordan Murray says go Chicago, beat Green Bay. Green Bay fires LaFleur. Hello, new Dolphins head coach.
Yeah, that is
LaFleur is kind of
that is a rumor out there. Just as Harbaugh was a rumor, just as Tomlin and Sean McDermott and their rumors and yeah, from the outside, sitting down here, you don't know who to believe and what is true and what is not. But yeah, I mean that. Of course, that would be in play because that's who Sullivan's been worked with for years. So, But again, I caution that doesn't mean that he likes them. I go back to Joe Philbin and Matt Flynn. We all assume, he knows Matt Flynn. He's gonna bring in Matt Flynn. No, he said, I don't want Matt Flynn. I saw him practice. Yeah. So the knowledge and familiarity with someone doesn't always mean that they like each other.
Yep. Okay. How about these two? Since we're talking Harbaugh, Louis M says Harbaugh sounds like a diva. Wants all the money, power, GM. Sounds like a disaster. Now let's just say something. This is what we're saying. We don't know what Harbaugh is thinking.
No, he hasn't spoken. Yeah.
Right. Tom Stickle.
And he doesn't seem like he's not. He seems like an experienced coach who knows his value and how he wants to play football. I don't really see Harbaugh as a diva.
You know what? If I am a guy who has won a Super Bowl, Harbaugh, McCarthy, Tomlin, you can call me a diva or whatever, but you're giving me some power. I'm not just a first-time coach, who has just been promoted from coordinator. Like, I got skins on the wall. So there's that. Tom Steckel says, I'll bet they spoke to Harbaugh through back channels to see his interest. Now, Jeff Darlington tells us that's not been the case.
I was told expressly by the Dolphins, no contact with Harbaugh. Okay, none, and that was underlined and exclamation pointed and the flip side of this, I don't know. Harbaugh is open to talk to anybody right now. I don't know. Obviously, his agent said 7 teams have inquired. But again, I was told Dolphins have not talked to him.
And so is this the right approach? By the way, Pete's Takes, what's going on? The playing by the rules approach, Hyde, and I can't believe I'm asking this. Is this the right approach? We know that Steve Ross has already failed pursuing Jim Harbaugh, right? The other Harbaugh brother, when he had Tony Sperano as head coach. Would you be disappointed to learn that he did not pursue John Harbaugh while he had Mike McDaniel as head coach? Is playing by the rules good here, or is playing by the rules kind of stupid here?
What are the rules? The rules are to get the best coach. I in retrospect, I don't understand why it was such a furor that Steve Ross flew and tried to recruit Jim Harbaugh, even though he had coaches do that all the time with players. We're going to bring in a player here, and if he's better than you, we're going to replace you. Why is it taboo for an owner to do that with a coach? I was a little surprised the Dolphins have not measured Harbaugh as far as his interest and all that, but it was adamant that they have not talked to him.
That's everything that I've heard also. Finn's in the house. What's going on? Dorian Sam's in the house here. Lo-Fi Anime checking in here. Let's see, the realest Miami Dolphins is that what that is? What's going on? I would say, Pretty Boy says, thank you, Aikman, for being a football mind in the body. In the building, I'm sorry, in the building. Do you think Troy Aikman should be used to help find the head coach, or no, this is the GM's job, don't let any outsiders come in here?
Yeah, well, why not? Why not get his thoughts now that he's in the trusted inner circle? Quarterback too, why not? Yeah, I mean, he's there, and he's been around the league. Again, what's wrong with if you trust the voice to bring him in as a consultant for general manager, why not coach? Why not, quarterback. But I'm sure Sullivan also, he'll have his own thoughts on all this stuff too.
Nateg checks in from Monterey Bay, California, and says, I have hopium for the future. Do you have hope, Hyde? Do you, I mean, like you said, this organization doesn't, they don't give you reason to believe. Are you going to be like Charlie Brown again? Is Lucy going to pull out that football of hope? All right, what's your approach to this whole thing, Hyde?
Look, the hope is, to me, Steve Ross, I think, did the right thing this time. For the first time,
Yeah.
he started completely all over. Everybody's starting on the same timeline. He went out, did a national search for everybody. Okay, he's going to do a national search for everybody. He's already done one, but now the coach. Whereas instead of just saying, "Oh, we're firing Mike Tannenbaum," you know what? We're going to promote Chris Greer. Or
Right.
and then we're going to put. We're going to fire Brian Flores and we're going to keep Greer and we're going to bring in McDaniel. Everybody was on hodgepodge timelines. Now everybody starts with the same idea of what we're trying to build.
Right.
National search. Right. So you're not just promoting the easy hire from inside. That's the hope to me. We're not to the point of saying, well, these are the greatest guys and you got the best organization now. But the philosophy of starting the organization makes sense.
Yeah. Darth Logan 15, what's going on? Dean Rodriguez checking in from Homestead, what's going on? I do like the approach that the Steve Ross is taking here. I don't know about the hope and the optimism and all of that. I'm going to take it day by day, but I like the approach. I like bringing in Troy Aikman as an outside voice. I like getting the GM, the coach, and the quarterback out and bringing them all in new together. I just hope that they're not in a rush in this process. It does not seem like they are. Hyde, one of our final topics here, I will ask you, quarterback. Do you have to get a quarterback this year? I say no. I say you've got some time. Like I've said, if you can't draft one or acquire, let me start here. You've got to bring in some competition for the starting job. Quinn Ewers is not coming to camp as my starting quarterback. That's not a shot at Quinn Ewers in any way, shape, or form. He's probably good enough to be your number two, but undecided on number one after a 3-game sample size. So you're going to have competition, but you don't have to find your franchise quarterback this year. If you don't have somebody that you believe in, build in the trenches in the first, second, and third rounds of the draft. See if there's a veteran free agent quarterback, Malik Willis. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him in. I really wouldn't. I just wouldn't bring him in with the idea you're definitely our next franchise quarterback. Let him earn it. Let him beat out Quinn Ewers. Let him show you through his play over the next season and a half, 2 seasons. I don't think you have to get the quarterback this year. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you got to try. I think you got to try to get it this. It doesn't mean you get it. My way of doing it, and I think I said this here before, the smartest GM the Dolphins have had was the first one, Joe Thomas. His name should be on the stadium. He drafted and acquired like 6 Hall of Famers. But he took a quarterback with his first pick in the first draft in '66, Rick Norton, who didn't pan out as rookie year. Next year, they used the 4th overall pick and took Bob Greasy, and he was asked, why you just took a quarterback? He goes, yeah, and I'm going to keep taking one until I get one. That'd be my philosophy. You just keep taking them until you get one, and get a few maybe low-priced ones this year. If you're they're not going to get Fernando Mendoza or more of Oregon. They're going to go 1-2 probably and the Dolphins can't get up that high but you got to. I'm completely with you. Quinn Ewers can't be the guy you bring in and say, unless you're going to say we're going to tank. You can't just say we're going to hand it to him and hope things work out. Hand it to three guys and say, fight it out for this year, and we'll see what we got at the end of the year.
Yep. Let's see. Some Lo-Fi Anime says Drew Aller prototype. Let's go. That is the Penn State quarterback, as you know. Chris L says draft a quarterback every year, bring in Mac Jones. Pretty Boy says Hyde can be a GM, very knowledgeable. So there you go.
I should be the GM. I told him to get Lamar Jackson. I said Justin Herbert. I would have saved the
That's right. That's right. On the other hand, Bill Smith says get a quarterback in the 2038 draft class. Laughing my ass off. Look, I'm just not going to force myself to fall in love with a quarterback this year. Omar Davia says this quarterback class sucks.
Perk, let me ask something. Perk.
Yes.
What year are you going to fall in love with a quarterback?
A year when there's one worth falling in love with. I don't see one this year, Dave. In the draft, definitely not. Well, let me say this. Let me keep qualifying this. Not at the top of the draft, but.
See, this was the Dolphins' problem for years. Well, we're not going to force it. We don't. With Josh Allen's, he's inaccurate. We're not going to force that. Lamar Jackson, we're not going to force that. And they're probably right on some of the guys they didn't force. But you got to try. You got to put skin in the game every year till you get one. And it doesn't mean first round pick. It doesn't mean sacrificing your draft. But mentality.
Right.
As I've said, the mentality of the personnel evaluator has to be 60% of my job is getting that quarterback. That's just
okay. I'm down with that. I'm down with that. I'm against. I'm against pushing a second round prospect into the middle of the first round because you need a quarterback. Okay, so that's what I'm against, and I'm against. Forcing a quarterback into a system that doesn't have a good offensive line, doesn't have a good run game, where the quarterback has no chance for success. I know you can't keep delaying it, but you have to give your quarterback the best chance of success as possible. You can't have everything.
You got to take the quarterback when he's there. Look at New England. If they said we have no offense, so we took Drake May. And his support was awful his first year, worst in the league.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you this, Hyde, and I've been saying this, and I think I've said it on here. One of the behind-the-scenes stories this season is defense. Patrick Mahomes is not in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson is not there. Joe Burrow is not there. But you got some strong defenses, right? And some teams that play defense with a good quarterback, right? Denver plays good defense. New England plays good defense. The Chargers play good defense. And so there's more than one way to do it. So that's kind of what I mean. You've got to give your quarterback a chance of success. You might not have the run game or the offense, but have a defense, have something to help this guy out. Don't just put him out there and say, okay, go win us the game.
Well,
give him some support, put him in a system.
You're not going to win with just the quarterback, but to have sustained success, not just, hey, we won this year. You need that quarterback.
Yes, 100% agree. I 100% agree. All right, we're going to get out of here on that note. We want to thank everybody for tuning in for this special edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. The chat is just blowing up here. It's just absolutely blowing up. It really is. Thank everybody for OL Coach Smith is in here, man. Let me honor him. Let me respect him. He says the market is the market. If you push a second round QB into the middle of the first, you probably don't get a shot at him. I'm against just any of this pushing the quarterback up. I know you need a quarterback, but give him a real evaluation and don't have a quarterback whisperer like no shot at Mike McDaniel or Adam Gase or Joe Philbin, but you're not turning Ryan Tannehill or Tua into Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Again, set the guy up for success and realize his limitations, realize what he's about build around him. That's what I hope the Dolphins do with the quarterback also. All right, we're going to get out of here. That's Dave Hyde. I'm Chris Perkins. We want to thank everybody for joining us on this special edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. Pay attention to your notifications. We will let you know when we are on again. Thanks, everybody.